Hi there, fellow food adventurers. Welcome to Gary's Urban Larder. Today, we're going to make a really simple recipe, but it's a classic, American macaroni and cheese. Okay, the first thing you need to do is to prepare your pasta. So we're adding our pasta to the boiling water, and we're going to let that simmer for about 11 to 12 minutes, according to package instructions. Now I have salted that water, so I'm going to just increase the temperature to bring that up to a boil, and once it's at a boil I'm going to reduce the temperature and let it simmer. So once that's done, we'll simply drain it and set it aside, and then we'll add our other ingredients. Okay, we've boiled our pasta till it's al dente, and now we're going to simply drain it and set it aside. So I'm going to take that to a strainer, and I want to keep a little of the pasta water for later because that's good in terms of our sauces. Just using a strainer to get that out. Now you notice I'm using a straight macaroni. Some people prefer elbow. I was unable to get elbow, so I have a straight macaroni that we're using for the recipe. I promise you, you can use any pasta you want. If you want a more interesting shape, do that. But the classic American does use an elbow. You can't find that in Europe, oddly enough. Let's get the rest of our pasta into the bowl. There. We've started by boiling our macaroni till al dente, and we've just set it aside to cool while we prepare the next thing, which would be our sauce. The ingredients include milk, butter, the pasta, we've got some nutmeg to go in the sauce, and some grated cheddar cheese. Now let's make our roux. So to a saucepan, we are going to add some butter, which we're going to melt. Now we're reserving some of this butter for the casserole dish, which we're going to use for our pasta. So we will boil it. And we will then add it to our prepared casserole. So the butter is starting to melt. I'm just going to get a wooden spoon. To that, I'm going to add an equal amount of flour. Now, don't worry about the quantities. They're all listed in the description, all the ingredients and all the measures. So I'm just going to add my flour, and I want to cook that so we don't have any raw flour. And we're just combining the flour and the butter to make our roux, which hopefully you've done before. But it's a really simple process. And we're just cooking out the rawness of that flour. We want that to become a nice paste. I'm just going to add a little more flour. There we go. I think one of the great things about learning to cook is learning basics like making a roux. And I'm just going to reduce the heat a slight bit as we add, this is cold milk. Now, in some instances in roux, you're going to add warm milk, a milk that you've heated through and flavored. But here we don't have to worry about that. And to avoid lumps, I'm going to switch to a whisk. I love using a whisk. Whisks and wooden spoons. For me, those are the two kitchen utensils I cannot do without. So just cook that down. And I started cooking actually as a small child. My grandmother lived with us until I was about 11 or 12, and she loved to cook and I loved to watch her. And I remember being in the kitchen with her, and I, as a 7-year-old child, started to learn how to make first things, you know, cookies, little things like that at first. All right. I'm going to keep adding the milk a little at a time to incorporate it all and get a nice smooth roux. And you'll notice that the roux will start to thicken as you cook it. That's why we incorporate the milk a bit at a time, so we can control the consistency. Now you also notice I'm not adding any salt. We've salted the water that the pasta was in. And there's the cheese that's going into the sauce. So you might think I'm adding a lot of milk, but I promise you, you will need it. So I don't think there's any need for added salt, but we are going to add one of my favorites, and that's freshly grated nutmeg. That gives us a really wonderful rich sauce, fragrant. Just incorporate that. And I'm just going to finish grating the rest of my cheddar. And then we're going to add that to our cream base for our cheesy sauce. This is all very simple things. And if you have a little one, you can ask them to help by grating the cheese. Now, this is a fairly safe thing to do, but you should be mindful of your fingers. Yeah. Finish that, and I'm going to add all of that at once. Into our sauce. I'm just going to get our cooled pasta here. And now I'm stirring that in. You can see that. That looks amazing, smells amazing. And don't worry about all the cheddar cheese melting. I'm going to add a little more milk, because it's a bit thicker than I'd like it right now. Remember, it's going to go in the oven, so you want that extra moisture. So, once most of that milk, I use all of my milk, so that's actually a full liter of milk. And I'm going to add a little bit more nutmeg, but once that comes together, most of that cheese has become incorporated. We're going to add that to our pasta. It's waiting here patiently. Just waiting that just to bubble a little bit, and then I'm going to pour that over the pasta. And I've got a spatula handy, which I'm going to use to help incorporate all of that. Okay, our sauce is ready. I'm just going to pour that over our pasta. We'll reserve a bit of that. can see that the pasta is receiving that sauce. And you just want to make sure you coat every individual piece of macaroni with your sauce. And I bet you were thinking, he's made too much sauce. You can see it wants the rest of it. Okay, so I'm just going to put this aside, clean up a little bit, and then we're going to get the casserole ready. Okay, I've cleaned up a little bit. We've got our pasta in its sauce, in its cheesy sauce there, and I've started to melt some butter in a little saucepan, to which I'm going to add some breadcrumbs. And the breadcrumbs we're going to use to spread over the top of our pasta before it goes into the oven. So it's really that simple, just incorporating the breadcrumbs and some butter. If you want, you can add any additional spices. Some people want to add some parsley on top. You could do that. I wouldn't add it into the warm breadcrumbs. I would just sprinkle it. Now we've got our buttered casserole. We've got our pasta, and we're simply going to add all of it to the casserole. Now I had reserved some pasta water in case this was too thick, but actually we don't need it. So this is absolutely beautiful. And now it's ready for our crumb. Now if you like, and you want some extra cheese and some extra flavor, you could grate a bit of Parmesan cheese on top as well as adding any parsley or any other sort of final flourish you want to add. But I think, for my taste, this will be enough. So now that's going to go into our preheated oven, and it's going to bake until it's all bubbly and forms a nice crisp crust. So join us after we take it out of the oven. All right, our macaroni and cheese has been in our hot oven, moderately hot oven, now for 40 to 45 minutes, and it's time to take it out and have a look. So here we go. It smells amazing. It's bubbling. And just looks great. We've got great color from the crumble. And you may notice I did cheat and add a little grated Parmesan on top. I just couldn't resist. So this should stand now for about 15 to 20 minutes, just so it's not scorching hot when you want to serve it and it starts to set. So we'll let that stand, and then we'll come back and we'll serve it up and have a taste. Well, thank you for joining us here today at Gary's Urban Larder. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you did, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And be sure and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any of our delicious recipes. See you next time.